Live from the San Fernando Valley, it's the Nighttime Show. As always, Matt Walker is here. I'm your host, Stephen Glickman, and today our guest, this guy is a legend. I'm a huge fan, been a huge fan for a very, very, very long time. Grew up watching him, constantly dressed like him when he was on the show Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Loved him on Stargate SG1, which was a huge show. And, of course, he is currently in the film Rotten Tail, which I am going to the premiere of this week. Very excited. Ladies and gentlemen, Corin Nemec, everyone. Oh, yeah.
It's hard to applaud when I didn't use a mic stand, so otherwise I would be applauding, but I can't.
I tried to do my best, Mike Black. It was not. It wasn't perfect.
It was.
I thought it was amazing.
Thank you, sir.
Impressed.
I appreciate that.
Very, very impressed.
Yeah.
I did a little looking back in history. This is one of the things I love about Twitter and the internet and things. I tweeted you. I tweeted you July of 2013.
Oh, my Lord.
Just imagine if somebody said in 1986, like, I tweeted you the other day. Like, how dirty would that sound?
Yeah, well, when I was when Matt, when you were a kid back in the 1940s, and you wanted to, say you were a fan of Andy Griffith or something, you'd have to write a letter. You put it in the mail, and you'd send it to like a fan club or something like this.
If you wanted if you wanted to send dick pics or something like that, you actually had to go to someplace and have them, unless you had a Polaroid.
Right.
Yeah.
You could take a
That's,
nice Polaroid.
You could take a Polaroid,
of the
but then you'd have to drop it in the mail.
Right.
Send it to somebody. I mean, it would take weeks for somebody to get it. It would completely. What if halfway there you suddenly went, oh my God, what did I do?
No.
Yeah. There's no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can't get out of it.
No.
Yeah, like I did write fan letters to baseball players back then. Like
Did
I
you
remember
really?
I sent something to Nolan Ryan. He sent me back an autograph
Oh my God.
back in the day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
I don't know whatever happened to it, but I had a Nolan Ryan autograph when I was like 12.
Well, okay, so in July of 2013, I wrote on Twitter, in junior high school, I took all my fashion cues from Parker Lewis Can't Lose. So I guess I can blame I am Corin Nemec for all the times I got my ass kicked. And you liked the message, and it was like, it was so crazy to me.
I'm surprised I didn't reply to that one. That was a good one, but I was just getting out of surgery and all kinds of stuff at that time period.
Well,
but,
you replied to another one at some point, and
that's a good one.
When you replied, I called my best friend from elementary school, from the 6th grade, this guy named David Hurley, who is he works at a hospital in Michigan. He's a very, very nice guy, a real sweet guy. And him and I and one other guy were like obsessed with Parker Lewis Can't Lose in 1990. We're talking 1991, 91. Which I believe is second season.
I guess first season probably officially started in 91 because it started airing in 91.
Right.
Yeah. We went from 91 to 93. I think 93 is the last year that it was actually on air for that tragic third season.
Oh,
but
well, so at the time this show. Which is so weird to think, that life can affect people in such strange and bizarre ways. But so this show comes out, and I'm like a kid who wears like Hawaiian shirts to school and like stuff like this, right? I'm like, I
went through a Hawaiian shirt phase. It was
they
can be fun phases.
It's a fun phase. It's more of you do a Hawaiian shirt. It's a Matthew McConaughey thing. Oh. I do a Hawaiian shirt. It's like fat guy gave up face. Like it's Gabriel Iglesias face.
No, it's retirement in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
it's Horatio Sanz.
It's Horatio Sanz.
Yeah.
It's not a great look for me to do a Hawaiian shirt. And I have a couple, but I shouldn't wear them.
The next step is the Tommy Bahama phase.
Oh no, I can't get into that phase.
Yeah, that's when you have to wear sandals with socks.
Just listen to nothing but Jimmy Buffett all day long. Yeah.
I kind of want to go through that phase.
Yeah, you gotta have one of those. We gotta have one of those safari hats that has like the screen around the center of it, so the air gets in there.
Air gets
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. This is a nice look.
Yeah,
this is a way some people live this way.
But you also have to have some kind of boat with at least 2 or 3 engines on the back. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's not even. It's a fishing boat, but you never fish. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to listen to Kokomo by the Beach Boys on a loop.
Oh, basically. Yes, of course. Way down to Kokomo. So 6th grade's coming to an end, and I remember reading somewhere that once you go off to a new school, you can kind of reinvent yourself and you know, I was about to go into junior high school and that I was like, that's the plan. I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to buy the type of clothes that I would want to wear, and I'm going to show up at junior high school as the guy that I want to be, not the guy that all these kids I've grown up with know me as. I went off to junior high with like no one that I went to elementary school with, so I was like, I'm going to go into 7th grade. I'm a brand new person. No one fucking knows me. This is going to be golden. So
New year, new me.
New year, new me. Literally, I go to the store. And what do I find at like Robinson's May but silk shirts?
Oh,
okay,
perfect.
With paisleys, all sorts of
paisleys.
bizarre.
I remember the paisleys.
Oh yeah, they had the swirls. There was like the Van Gogh looking ones with the triangles everywhere. Mm-hmm. Man, I got my dad or my mom to buy me like a bunch of those shirts and big giant like black Elton John sunglasses. I had a mullet with lightning bolts shaved in the side of my head.
Oh, you were ready to go.
Oh man, I showed up at junior high school, and these kids at my junior high school in Encinitas, California, were like, what the fuck is that? What am I looking at? And then proceeded to, you know, just kick the shit out of me repeatedly. But to me, it was like, well, I'm dressing the way, this is what cool people dress like. This is the outfit.
Well, in Encinitas, you might have been a little far out for Encinitas.
If I had been wearing that in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, maybe Hollywood High.
Right. No, you'd have been fine.
Cool.
You'd have been totally
cool
fine.
Kid, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
no, you would have been totally fine. You know, for sure. You'd have been completely accepted. But Encinitas, that's I mean, you might as well have been in Kansas or Kentucky.
Yeah. Yeah, there was it was very they did not. There was like one black guy at our whole school,
right?
You know, and he was like, he had the worst time. He had a terrible
I bet.
Time. Yeah, and I was the only Jewish kid at my junior high school that was out of the closet as a Jewish person.
Right,
like,
yeah.
And when I said,
like you actually admitted that you were Jewish.
Oh, I was walking around going like, I can't wait, I'm having my bar mitzvah. And everyone was like, kill him. You know, like, they were like, what are you talking about? Are you an alien? Like, they had no idea what I was talking about. And then I'd come up to the other Jewish kids at my junior high and be like, hey.
They're like, get the fuck away.
Get the fuck away. They're like,
blow my cover.
Yeah, that kid's so weird, man. He tried to crash my Christmas party, you know, and you're like, we go to Hebrew school together.
It was like living in pre-World War, like just before the war started in Berlin. You know? You're like,
very strange time period.
They stuck one of those stars on you and stuff, like made you.
Yeah, it was
good
bad.
God.
It was a very bad school.
It was similar. I mean, when I lived in Atlanta just before I moved to Los Angeles, and I was at Sandy Springs Middle School, and it was similar. I mean, you could count those who weren't Caucasian. You could pretty much count the entire 3 grades worth of people on like 2 hands that weren't actually Caucasian, you know. And so coming from there to LA, where it was the opposite at Walter Reed Junior High, I was like, oh my God. I'm the only white kid here.
Yeah, Matt grew up in Whittier,
Pico Rivera.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, and
Whittier.
You were the
you
only white kid at your school, weren't
only
you?
redhead, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was me and my sister were the redheads out of 3,000 students at our high school.
Well, it was during when Duran Duran had come out and stuff, and so these 2 kids had moved to Sandy Springs from Denver, Colorado. They were brothers, and they were really good-looking guys, but they were full Duran Duran out, like their outfits, everything, their hair. hair, and they looked cool. They looked so cool, you know. But I mean, we're wearing like Iron Maiden T-shirts and you know, like camouflage pants with rat tails and you know what I mean?
Right.
Dipping in class, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And so they showed up, and it was just like, I mean, they got absolute hell from the locals at that school. They were like, they were like, what are you, aliens? What planet did you come from?
I was trying to blend in by wearing Rude Dog.
Oh, we all wore Rude Dog.
And Hypercolor was the other one.
Hypercolor was so great. Okay,
you might bring it back. I could see you bringing Hypercolor back.
I could bring Hypercolor back.
I could see you do it, except you would wind up with like sweaty pits that would be a different color than the rest of the shirt. That's my prediction.
Part of being Hypercolor.
Yes.
That was part of the fun of the shirt. You walk around thinking you're so cool, and then you've got like orange armpits. Okay, so Corin, your career starts out according to IMDb. Do you know what your IMDb says your first gig was?
It'd have to either be Sidekicks or
it is Sidekicks. You are right.
Yeah.
You are right. So it goes like in order. It goes Sidekicks, Webster, and then Tucker.
Yeah, that's reversed. It should be Sidekicks, Tucker, then Webster.
So how does Sidekicks compare to Three Ninjas? Was there like a rivalry between those two?
Sidekicks. Okay. Oh, well, I mean, Sidekicks was
a television show.
Yeah, it was very early. Very early on, like 1985.
Because that was the karate
This is 86,
show, right?
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, this is a Sidekicks was an ordinary cop tutors a young boy who insists on helping him in his cases while using karate.
That was Ernie Reyes Jr. and Gil Gerard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But. So is it in order? Would it be Sidekicks, then Tucker, then Webster?
That's what it should be. Unfortunately, it doesn't read right. But when I got done with Tucker, I was fine. Anybody who came off of a Francis Ford Coppola film in the mid '80s, you were kind of hot shit.
And that's
at
a great
time.
movie.
It's a great film, and so there was I was able to really start auditioning for some really good stuff, and then my agents got this offer in for me to do Webster, and it turned out to be the last season of Webster, playing Nikki Papadopoulos, the move-in cousin or whatever, and I was like, I just finished a movie with Francis Coppola, Jeff Bridges, and Martin Landau, and all these people, and I'm like, I don't want to do that, and then they said, well, this is what we'll pay you every week. And I was like, that's an unheard of amount.
Yeah.
I'm
sure.
And so,
how's it going, cousin Alex Karras?
It's nothing compared to what they pay people today for, series regulars and stuff. But still, it was an unheard of amount for me coming from Georgia out of nowhere.
How old were you at that time?
13, 14 years old.
Okay, so you're still sort of on like the kids rate.
Was your family here with you?
I moved to Los Angeles. My mom was in the music business when I was growing up. She was a graphic.
Hold on one sec, guys. For some reason, your mics both just dropped, and I don't know why. Can you check your switch? Make sure it's still switched on. And you're switched on?
Oh, no, I accidentally clicked mine off.
Okay.
Testing.
Okay, Steven?
Mine? Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, let's pick that back up, and I'll cut it in. So ask him again. I had asked him how old he was, and you said something else at that point. I forget what it was. So.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, did you come out to Los Angeles with your family?
Yeah, my mom was she was in the music business when I was growing up. She was a graphic designer, and she did basically the poster designs for bands that were coming through Atlanta for a big promotional company called Standing Room Only, which was like one of the biggest promotional companies in Atlanta. And so growing up, I saw everybody. Everybody back then, Hall & Oates and Jay Giles Band and Lynyrd Skynyrd and Asia and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. And I would get to go backstage, me and my sister, and we'd hang out back there and meet all these, all these rock stars and
like
stuff.
all the stars that play the county fair circuit now.
Yeah,
back when they were cool.
Well, so the company that did all the big shows, the promotional company, they used to own Like it was probably maybe like a 1,200 not seat, but 1,200 capacity bar called the Agora Ballroom, which was a huge place for bands to play on a smaller level. And she took us there to see Prince before his first album came out.
Whoa! Oh my God!
Yeah, before his first album came out when we were quite little. So and then she ended up working for the Nederlanders, which owned the Fox Theater in Atlanta, and started doing play poster design for the Fox Theater in Atlanta. And then transferred to the Pantages Theater here in Hollywood, in around 1985 or so. So that's how we ended up in Los Angeles. And my dad was already living out here at the time. He had started out as an architect in Arkansas, where I'm from, and then had moved out to L.A. and got with an architectural firm in Los Angeles in the late 70s. And then when that firm folded, he had some buddies that did set design and stuff in the film business. So he ended up getting into set design, and then art director. He was art director on Goonies, for instance, and and then went on to be a production designer on a bunch of films. Patriot Games, The Saint, The Shadow, Twister,
Holy crap!
Ironclad, a bunch of films. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's so great. So they were supportive. Your family was supportive of you.
Very supportive, actually. Really supportive, and that was a huge plus for sure. And it certainly helped me to be able to succeed. I mean, really, it was all mostly my idea and everything. I met a kid in junior high in I was taking a graphic arts class at Walter Reed Junior High, and I met this other young actor named David Van Gorder, who was really famous at that exact time for being Waldo in the Hot for Teacher video by Van Halen.
Oh yeah.
And so we became pals, and he was in an acting class called Center Stage LA, which was the artistic director was a guy named Kevin McDermott, and it happened to be a very, very reputable children's theater company, and so I went, and you had to audition for it, So I went and auditioned for it, and he accepted me, and I was like, well, now that you accepted me, I actually can't really afford the class. So he was like, I'll give you, a 6-month scholarship, So he let me study there 6 months basically for free. And then we had our first showcase where agents and managers would flock to his classes for showcases to find new talent, because he was so good at what he did. He was really he used a lot of improv to get young actors really comfortable on stage and stuff like that,
Yeah.
And then I signed with my first agent, Abrams, Rubeloff and Lawrence, within like 6 months or so of having just started acting. And then the first audition I went on was for a Suzuki motorcycle commercial, and I got the job. Paul Ventura casting, actually. That Paul Ventura cast me in a number of commercials when I was young.
I love
it. So I got that, and it was a commercial for the Super Bowl. I think it was 1985 Super Bowl or something when it came out. And so my uncle was down in the Caribbean on vacation and watching the Super Bowl, and suddenly, he's at the local bar and he's like, "Hey, that's my nephew." And he's like, "Oh, this guy's crazy."
He's cut off.
Yeah, he's cut off. No more drinks for you, pal.
That's so great.
Yeah, it was a trip.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so then it just went on from there,
Where did you go to high school? Did you go to?
I went from Walter Reed to North Hollywood High School, and then partway through 11th grade, I transferred to, because I started working so much, it didn't make sense to fail out of PE because I couldn't make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And so I transferred.
That's why I failed PE also.
Yes, that's why.
Yeah, totally.
Well, fortunately, at Walter Reed, they used to have a group called the Donkey Squad, which was the kids that didn't want to dress out for PE, and we would just get stuck on a bench somewhere, and we just they'd be like, "Oh, you guys can't use the weights, or you get last pick of the basketball courts," and we're like, "We don't want to play anyway." So
have fun.
Yeah, that's when I was getting into I was really into graffiti art and stuff like that. So the Donkey Squad was the training ground for being a graffiti artist and tagger, because everybody in the Donkey Squad was either a gangbanger or a graffiti artist or some kind of hesher or stoner who his hair was so long he'd step on it every time he'd try to get off the bench,
Yeah.
But it was pretty hilarious.
Oh my God. Hey Matt, before we continue the show, let me ask you a quick question, Matt. When you're getting down with the ladies, you lubing it up? You lubing it up, Matt?
You have to.
Yeah, sometimes you got to get your lubes on. But I'll tell you what. The biggest problem I think for most people is that lube, it goes everywhere, especially when it's dark. It's in the middle of the night.
Gets all over.
It gets all over the place, and that's no fun for nobody. Which is why I always say you should use Lube Light. That's right, Lube Light lets you pop its cap for an instant illumination. Wow. That's incredible.
So you just open it up and then you've got a light?
You got a light built in. Any lube will work in this bottle. It is you grip it, flip it, squeeze it, fill it up, and I'm telling you right now, bam! You got a lube light. You pop its cap for instant illumination, and then lube gets applied wherever you want it applied, not where it wants to go. That's right. You're in charge of the lube now. Also, you can keep the light on while you're getting down to clown. And that ambient light, it's very nice. It's never blinding, and especially while you're grinding. So, don't take it from me, Matt. Don't take this advice from me. Take it from a satisfied customer.
Lube Light has changed everything in the bedroom for me. I used to always just be worried about making a mess. Half the time I couldn't even find it. But with Lube Light, I'm always guaranteed a hole-in-one.
That's why you should try lubelights.com. Lubelights.com. We're talking about lube, folks. Lubelights.com. All right, let's get back to the show. So what was it like going to school in North Hollywood High? Like when you're in that time period of trying to you're getting out there.
Yeah,
was there other actors that you went to school with?
Yeah. Brian Green went to North Hollywood High School the same time I did, I didn't even really know he was an actor at first until I saw him at some events. But I really kept, it was weird. I kept like two separate lives because again, like I said, I really got into graffiti art and that whole scene.
Do you still do graffiti art?
Yeah, I still paint and stuff. Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
I still paint. Not as much as I did in the last couple of years, but I have some graffiti walls at my place in Texas that I built in the backyard, so I can paint anytime. And then when I travel, I get to paint quite a bit when I'm traveling around and stuff.
That's so cool.
And I have some murals here in Los Angeles that are still, the store, the famous 1980s punk rock store on Melrose called Posers. In the back of that store, I've got a mural of Johnny Rotten that I did, and one of Sid Vicious that I did, and
that's so
stuff
cool.
like that are pretty epic. Yeah,
that's amazing.
They're pretty
that's
epic.
Really neat.
So then halfway through 11th grade, it became too much. So I transferred to a school for young actors and artists called Excelsior, which was in Hollywood.
The Stan Lee School?
No. This was. It had a great name, but it was it was such a joke. I mean,
That's the school for X-Men.
Yeah, we went to school from 8:15 to 12:30 every day. Never had homework and all this stuff. You basically went and paid for your graduation papers. Is really the deal. But it was like Christina Applegate was there, Soleil Moonfry was there, Mila Jovovich was there, Seth Binzer from Crazy Town was there, Justin Warfield, who's the singer in She Wants Revenge. It's his band. He was going there with me. Jenny Lewis was there at the time. Ernie Reyes Jr. was there as well. And I mean, the list goes on and on. It was just packed full of just young working actors and artists and stuff like that.
That must have been a crazy place.
It was
to go
hilarious.
To school.
It was hilarious. We had this one teacher named Mr. Van who was like this stoner surfer guy, and sometimes when he would always check these, like he had this some AM radio station that would give him like the surf report. And sometimes if the surf report was really good, he would lock the door and change the clock time and leave school early.
Holy crap.
And so when the owners of the school were also the principals, so they'd come banging on the door and we would be like, who's going to open it? We're like, I don't know. And so someone would go and open it and they go, where's Mr. Van? We're like, well, I mean, he left. We're done. And they'd look up and like the clock has changed by like 25 minutes.
Right. Oh my God. Someone should make a TV show show about that school.
Oh, that's cool. It was 3 rooms, and everybody took the same classes at the same time, no matter what grade you were in. So all math classes, and it went from grade 6 through 12. Whoa. So you had kids from age 6, and then kids who were in 12th grade, and everybody would be in the same math class at the same time, the same history class at the same time, or whatever. And you would just be studying at whatever pace you're studying at whatever grade level you're at.
Dude, Jenny Lewis is a fascinating creature.
And then we had a Belizean drug lord's son that went there as well, which was hilarious.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, totally.
Dude, Jenny Lewis is one of those like anomaly people that I don't totally understand how it worked out, how things have worked out for her. She's an incredibly talented singer.
Yeah. And she's what I told you. Like, I was just at some bar in downtown. Yeah. And then I was like, Jenny Lewis came up to sing. I was like, she's a singer now? I didn't even know because I'm not into like indie rock or whatever.
Yeah, she's gotten some
and she came up and I was like, and people were really excited. I was like, she's familiar for some reason, but I don't know why.
Well, she has a billboard on Santa Monica.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to go watch one of her music videos. And there's a music video of hers where she's singing. The bassist is Anne Hathaway.
Oh,
the guitarist
that gets strange.
The guitarist is Kristen Stewart, and the drummer is Brie Larson. And they're mouthing the words and playing the instruments, like pretending to play.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And she's the singer, and I'm like, how did this happen? Like, this is amazing.
This is an alternate. What alternate universe have I just stepped into?
It's fascinating.
Let's see the making of that music video.
It's always this business is so bizarre
it is.
And strange. When we're kind of catching up to Parker Lewis Can't Lose 1990. Did you get cast on the show in 89, or how did you?
No, I got originally cast in that show because of a TV special I did with Eddie Murphy Productions called What's Alan Watching. It was on CBS. And it was Tommy Schlamme was the director of that, and it was some of the original writers from Saturday Night Live created it, and Eddie Murphy was executive producing and also acting.
Fran Drescher was in it.
Fran Drescher and Peter Michael Getz and Barbara Barry, and then the Smothers Brothers.
Shelley Berman was in it.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Was that the Eddie Murphy special where he did the free
James? Carlin was in it.
It was called What's Alan Watching, and I was Alan.
Whoa!
Is that the one where Eddie Murphy did the free James Brown bit where he's like moonwalking and singing? I remember watching that on TV.
Free James Brown. Then they had Gandhi on Ice, and
I remember watching
all kinds of crazy stuff. So my character
here's the description of the show. 17-year-old Alan is a couch potato who views life and his family as if they were on television. Libby and Leo are his parents. Gail is his sister. Jeff is his brother, Alyssa is his girlfriend, and Lenny is his friend. Actually,
Alyssa wasn't my girlfriend. She was the girl that I had the hots for, but she was dating. Oh my God, I can't believe.
Someone else.
No, it was. Whose mom owned the comedy store?
Pauly
Shore. Yeah, of course.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so Pauly Shore was in it, and back then as well. So, and he was like my nemesis.
Crazy. That's a crazy lineup too of people. I worked for Shelley Berman. He was my first job I ever had.
Oh, far out.
I was his assistant at the La Jolla Playhouse while he was doing a play. And they said, I'll make this very short and quick, but they said to me, do not let any women do anything for him while he's working on this show. If a woman says, that she wants to take his measurements, you take the measurements. Like if a woman says, I'm going to go get him coffee, you go get him coffee. He hates women. Do not let any women do anything
strange.
For him. And I was like, okay, go if he needs a new script, don't let a woman go get it for him. You go get it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, fine. And so then one day we were in the middle of working, and he needed a cup of coffee, and
oh no,
and I was somewhere else, and he asked a woman to go get him a cup of coffee. She got him the coffee, brought it back. He drank a little bit of it, and then threw the coffee at her, and screamed at her, "What kind of fucking bitch is ruining my goddamn coffee?" Screaming at this woman, and then they came over and were like, "Stephen, we told you, don't ever let a woman work for him. Like, he hates women. He's like such a fucking asshole."
That is bizarre.
Yeah, I know.
That is so bizarre.
And now he's dead. Anyways,
there you go.
These
he gets to heaven, finds out the God's a woman. He's like, no,
God's a woman, no. So that was good.
So I did. Yeah. So I did Parker. I mean, I did What's Alan Watching, and at the time, Clyde Phillips was over at CBS doing. He had created Houston Nights, him and Lon Diamond created Parker Lewis together.
Sure.
And so they had been asked by CBS to come up with this, with a teen kind of comedy or whatever. And so apparently they had been big fans of what they were doing with What's Alan Watching. Like, there's no rules here.
Yeah.
And then so they'd come up with that the concept for CBS back then, and CBS said turned it down.
Yeah.
And then that left them open to take it over to Fox when Fox was opening up its full lineup.
Right.
And so unbeknownst to me, they had been fans of mine since What's Alan Watching. And when they got the go-ahead for the pilot episode of Parker Lewis, I got that job.
Wow!
Because of What's Alan Watching. And,
was it an audition or was it just
no?
Wow,
Yeah. Well, I oddly enough, I didn't want to do another half-hour comedy after my horrible experience on Webster because Mam and George were such dicks.
What?
And they were horrible to work with. Horrible. Manny, Emmanuel Lewis was fantastic. He was just such a cool guy. And but I got to tell you, I mean, they were absolutely. They had to stop filming in front of a live studio audience because they used to be married in real life, then they got divorced, and they were still working on the show as a married couple. And they had to have their
the husband and wife.
Yeah, so they had to have their dressing rooms on opposite sides of the set. And the only time the only time they'd ever see each other is when we were filming. So they wouldn't even do rehearsals together. They wouldn't do anything. They would only come in and just do the scenes.
Whoa!
So we'd have to rehearse with the stand-ins, reading the dialogue and doing the blocking and everything, and they'd come out and then they just go off script and just start going, "Oh yeah, that's pretty funny, you cunt," and you go, "Oh well, that's really funny of you, you little asshole," and they just start and they would just and so they had to stop shooting in front of a live studio audience because of the way they would talk to each other and the language they would use because it was all children and their parents in the audience.
Oh my god, that's amazing!
So I was miserable doing that show, absolutely miserable, and I was like, I'll never do another half-hour comedy again. And I had just finished this big budget sci-fi film called Solar Crisis in the late '80s at the time.
Sure.
With an incredible cast. It was.
Solar Crisis was, I'll tell you, it was Tim Matheson, it was Charlton Heston,
Peter Boyle, Jack Palance.
That's a big movie.
Yeah.
Big movie, big people.
And so I thought that movie was going to be a gigantic hit. It was like a $48 million film in the late '80s, which is like equivalent to probably $300 million today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
totally.
And so I thought that was going to be like, I was one of the main leads in it and everything, and so I was expecting good things out of that. So when Parker Lewis came up at first, I was like, nah, I can't. Another half-hour comedy? There's just no way. Yeah. He's like, not after that experience, because I thought it was going to be a sitcom, multi-camera, and all of that. And I found that kind of comedy hard to do as well.
Sure,
because it's like there's a pace to it. You know, there's just like this, and there's a certain writing style to it. It's line, joke, line, joke. You know what I mean? And there's this, and I found it quite difficult at times to like keep up with that pace. Because it wasn't organic. It wasn't really natural, and so. At first, I was like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to do, the part. So I went and met with them, and they were like, look, this is not going to be a multi-camera show. It's a single-camera show shot like a film. It's going to be shot like 3 O'Clock High, which was one of my favorite movies at the time with Casey Shamasco. Mm-hmm. And, we're going to use the same kind of camera techniques and stuff that they did in 3 O'Clock High. There's going to be no rules. It's, it's not the stand. So I read the pilot script, and I was like, oh, this is like a real show. And this was before, they created this show well before Ferris Bueller came out.
Sure.
Okay.
So Ferris Bueller's coming out. People have always equated this show to a Ferris Bueller, but they actually had already created it before that. But Ferris Bueller, I think, helped make that genre, like hip, slick, and cool.
Yeah.
So, in fact, they did a Ferris Bueller series that we aired at the same time. I think they were on NBC or CBS or something else, and we came out on Fox, and that was like, who's going to make it? And they only lasted 6 episodes, and then got canceled.
Blasted them out of the.
So it went really great. I mean, I was like, once they told me what the show was going to be and all of that, I was like, oh, I'm all in. Absolutely.
Something I absolutely loved about the show, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but that on episodes of the show, you guys would sneak in things into the background, making fun of other television shows on other networks airing at the same time. There was a girl holding a sign saying "Thank you for not watching Erie, Indiana," in the background of one shot, and then there was another, like someone else did the same thing on "Thank you for not watching Hull High," which was also airing at the same time. Like they would do that every once in a while on the show, and it was so like. It was just a ballsy thing for them to be trying to do to kind of push other shows out.
Yeah, totally. And I think that when I think back on it, sorry, I'm stammering here, but when I look at what they did with What's On Watching, and then I look at what they were doing with Parker Lewis, with all these interesting, like we had. Everybody's name is slipping my mind now. The comedic singer. I'm fat.
Weird Al.
I'm fat. Yeah, Weird Al Yankovic. We had a scene where we're out there on the field, the football field and stuff, and we're doing a scene, and something triggers him to just go rolling by on a piano in the background singing. And he just goes through frame and just disappears out the other side of frame.
Yeah,
and we had stuff like that going on, all throughout. I mean, they had one where David Faustino, who from Married with Children.
Yeah.
We're talking about people getting thrown in detention and stuff, and then it pans over to him, and he's like, "Yeah, Miss Musso put me in detention. I don't even go to this school." You know what I mean? Like
brilliant,
silly stuff like that.
And do you think some of that is because you were on Fox and they were more willing to do that kind of stuff? Because I think on the other networks they weren't doing any of that stuff, and Fox was like, "We're going to be edgy. We're going to have this."
Yeah, until Rupert Murdoch bought it, and that's why season 3 was so vastly different than the first 2 seasons, because Rupert Murdoch, they bought Fox during those, that 2-year transition there, and then the new executive, they fired all the executives, of course, and brought in everybody. And you know how the executives are. No offense to any executive listening,
sure,
but you don't always have to put your stamp on everything.
Sure.
So it's like they just started meddling in the show.
What was the changes like? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, they got rid of the hair and the shirts, and they got rid of Lemmer. Really? They got rid of Lemmer, who was Miss Musso's right hand man, who was who would disappear and reappear from scene to scene. They got rid of all. They wouldn't allow us to do some of the magic stuff that we used to do, where you just disappear from one scene, or go through a locker and come out in a classroom or whatever. There was a lot of stuff that they tried to make us more like a 90210. Because they were looking at the success of 90210 versus our ratings. But, we did a college tour, and it was incredible, the response we got. And they were still basing their ratings on the another brain fart, the Nielsen ratings.
Yeah.
Which the Nielsen boxes, how many were really in America? But at that time, in the early 90s, almost every home in America with a Nielsen box had a separate TV in the other room that the kids were watching.
Yeah, and they were still doing diaries at that time. Like, it wasn't even necessarily electronically recording all that stuff either, too. It was people writing down what they were watching and listening to.
Yeah, it was that kind of weird stuff. So they're writing, but so our response that we were getting when we would go out and do publicity tours and stuff like that was just crazy. It was crazy, and I knew for a fact that they were not seeing real ratings for our show even back then. Yeah. And then when they took over, and then I came to set for the beginning of season 3, and the producers were like, "Okay, sit down. We got to talk to you about something." I'm like, "What's going on? What happened?" And they're like, "Well, there's some changes that we have to make." And I just couldn't believe it. And they're like, "Listen, we fought really hard not to make these changes, but there's just nothing we can do. They're forcing us to do this." And it was a really tough season to do, because we knew that we were, on the
you're signing your own death warrant by doing that.
Yeah, we're signing our own death wish there. Yeah, exactly.
Because everything cool, they're like, let's take out all the cool stuff.
They took out all the
and
cool
just
stuff.
make it normal.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a fun show because it was normal. It was fun because it wasn't normal.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What a bummer.
So finally, when we got, it was just a countdown to the cancellation, but they let us finish the season out, and but when we were on our last episode of season 3, they let us know that it wasn't coming back while we were, shooting. You know what I mean? They're like, just to make your final episode that much more exciting, you're not coming back next year.
Oh God! When we were finishing season 3 of Big Time Rush, they were like, "By the way, you guys are done. The show's over. Pack up at the end of season 3."
But then they tore down all the sets where they
tore down the sets.
built a swimming pool inside a sound stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not.
And they tore it all out.
They filled in the swimming pool with
Filled it in with concrete or
filled
whatever?
in with concrete. Yeah. And then they said to me, I said, "Can I take any of the stuff in my office, in my record label office?" And they were like, "Well, yeah, we're done. You can do whatever you want." So I backed up a truck and I filled it with stuff, with records, gold records, and props, and picture frame, everything I could possibly fit. Yeah. My chair, all my stuff. And then 3 weeks after we wrapped, they were like, "Guess what? We're coming back for a 4th season." And I was like, "Oh yeah?" And they were like, "Yeah, so don't forget to bring the stuff back that you took with you." And I was like, "I don't take anything. I don't know what you're talking about." And I didn't bring anything back.
That
the only thing
props department
I think
had to
I
make
brought my
everything
chair
again.
back, and the rest of it, everything else, I just kept.
That's so funny.
And so then when we finished the final episode of like season 4, I think I walked away from the show with like 25 gold records, like framed records and stuff, which are hilarious. And they had to like just make more records, but it was.
Well, they did. They took an old LP and spray painted it with gold spray paint. It's not like it was
that big a deal. But it was like I just wanted
to
to have like the pieces, like the stuff, our stuff, as much of the stuff as I could. But it was really weird when they were coming down to end the show. We were coming up at the end of of the show. It was because they had taken our show from it being airing like every week on Wednesday or every other week on Wednesday night to it being we aired the show once a month as a special event, and then they were upset that the ratings weren't as good. And you're like, and then they would switch us from Wednesday to Saturday or Wednesday to Tuesday or
that was our third
season.
That was our third season of. That's when it's over.
Yeah. When what was your original airtime? Like what day were you on?
We were on Sundays at like 6 p.m. or something like that.
Oh, so you're like a lead-in to The Simpsons.
Yeah, we were on the Sunday night lineup at Fox.
Wow.
We were the first, it was a great spot.
That is bananas.
Yeah, because The Simpsons originally debuted on a Thursday opposite Cosby, and then they moved them the next year to Sundays, I think.
I want to talk about your relationship, your friendship.
Oh, by the way, my son, when my son was growing up, he's 14 now, but like Big Time Rush was one of his. Like he loved that show.
He loved that show. Your mouth.
That's why when I was like Stephen Glickman, I was like, no way.
That is too weird and too wonderful. Okay, before we talk about your friendship with Dave Faustino, because I know you guys are friends, right? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, before we talk about that, I'm going to list off some.
Can we talk about Dave Faustino's rap career? Can we talk about that?
What rap career?
Rap career. I got to list off some of the.
You don't
people
know
that were
the one
on...
video he has? Oh, I'll show it to you.
Hang on, Matt.
I'll show it to you.
I'm doing something, Matt.
Okay.
Here's a list of some of the actors that were on your show, Parker Lewis Can't Lose, right back in the day. Martin Mull was on the show. Who's incredibly funny. Ozzy Osbourne was on the show.
Yep.
Ziggy Marley was on the show.
Yep, that's right.
Of course, Dave Faustino did an episode of the show. James Pickens Jr. was on the show from Roseanne, from all sorts of other wonderful stuff. Jerry Mathers, Don Lake. There's one in here that totally blew my mind. Shannon Tweed. Which is so rad. Dave Thomas, Donny Osmond, Sonny Bono.
Yeah, that's right.
Mila Jovovich.
She was in the pilot.
I mean, holy crap. And then it just, main cast members.
That has to be
Ryan Stiles and of course the John Panette was a part of the show.
Yeah, he was great.
Who Mike Black, our announcer, toured with for years as his opening act and wrote for him and stuff. And then Tim Stack, who is like just a comedy legend.
Yeah,
now,
he's hilarious.
was that Mila Jovovich as a teenager on that show?
We were actually in real, like I said before, we were in real high school together, and so she didn't tell me that she had gotten cast as like the love interest on the pilot. So she was all like being all funny when we were like finishing up, because we started the pilot 2 weeks after I finished my 12th grade year in high school. So she was like the last couple of weeks of school, she was acting all funny. I'm like, what is she being all funny about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and
she
then she
knew.
shows up on set and she's like, meh, meh, meh. I was like, oh, fine.
Oh, wow.
Do you think she thought being in the pilot meant she was going to be a recurring thing on the show?
Oh, I don't know, maybe, but the way that show worked, you never saw until third season. You never saw the same girl twice, really.
Yeah.
It was like Seinfeld, like Girl of the Week.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my God. Well, let's talk a little bit about the regular cast of the regular guys, the guys that you worked with on a regular basis. So Billy, Jane, and Troy.
Yeah.
So you and Billy and Troy work together like a lot. On that show,
of course.
Every day.
Course, yeah.
What was the relationship like between you and those guys? And
the dynamics really were very much kind of like they were on the show itself. Really, you know what I mean? It was extremely well cast. All of us were somewhat like our characters, before we were even on set. So it was kind of perfect. Oddly enough, Troy and I hung out far more than Billy and I hung out. And even though I still know Billy to this day, we actually just did a Parker Lewis reunion at an event over in France.
Whoa!
Because it's been over in France and Europe. They didn't just show those seasons, for 3 years. They ran them for like 20 years. You know what I mean? Like it was just on a couple of years ago over there. So you have like 3 or 4 generations of young viewers who have grown up on that show over in parts of Europe. Sure. And it's been a huge hit over there ever since. And so they brought me, myself, Troy Slayton, Billy Jane, Abraham Ben Ruby, and Maya Bruton, who played my sister on the show. They brought all of us over there together for this this reunion at one of the Comic-Con style shows.
Oh, that's so cool.
In Paris. Yeah, it was hilarious. But so Troy and I, we hung out quite a bit over the years, and Abraham and I used to hang out quite a bit, who played Kubiak on the show.
Yeah.
But the the dynamics on set were great. We were always it was a very tough shoot.
Did they chemistry read you with them, or how did they do that? Did you do chemistry reads on the show?
You mean
to decide who was going to be paired
up
the
with
auditioning?
The
auditioning
process?
Yeah, did they bring you into
I went in and I was there for I was there and read with the top 3 of each of the cast people that they had boiled it down to.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun, and so I read with all of them, back then. Yeah. I think the only one that they knew that they were going to cast no matter what was Abe Ben Ruby. I think that I don't recall him coming in and having to do that read. It was like, it's a no-brainer with him.
Yeah. There's nobody else.
There's nobody else that you're going to find.
Yeah, I just ran into him at the bank.
That's funny.
Like a couple months ago, and
you guys are matching residuals. Like, look, I got one for 24 cents.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one for 36 cents.
I know. Yeah, it was literally that. He's one of those guys that like you can't not like you see him, you're like that's a good character. He's just a good character.
Yeah,
guy,
totally.
So Dave Faustino, you and Dave meet where?
Well, we met
because you guys ended up doing a web series.
Yeah, we did a web
together?
series called Starving,
which
together,
I watched.
which we created and wrote and everything.
There is a clip of Starving with you and him and Ed O'Neill. That is fucking brutal. It's so funny.
Yeah. When I'm eating off his plate and stuff like that.
You're eating off his plate and he's just pissed. And it's like he's just so dirty. Like he's just filthy on it. I love him.
They pulled that. They pulled all of our. We did that for Crackle, Sony Television, and to back up, I've known David since he was probably 13 or whatever. I mean, we met each other at different events. Teen magazine events and Bot magazine and this event and that event.
Of course, sure.
And so we had known each other back then for a long time as young actors, and then and became close friends in our later teenage years and stuff, and then up through our 20s and all the way till present time.
Yeah.
But when the Two Corys show had come out, David and I were like, oh, we got to take the piss out of this, you know. So we had actually gone in and we were pitching a bunch of fake reality shows that through a production company we had set up with a buddy of ours named Todd Bringawat. Like we had one, I think that was what was it? Doghouse, where it's like where David is trying to audition people to be his new best friend. Right. And it's like, and if you become his dog, you get to wear like this gold necklace, and if you mess up, you have to go live in a doghouse in his backyard.
That's funny.
Whatever. So all this stuff. And
that's like that Paris Hilton show where they actually tried to do that.
Right. I didn't see that one.
But,
yeah. So we wanted to take the piss out of reality shows, and we kept getting pitch meetings and this, and we went through like 12 different incarnations of it, and finally our writing partner he was like, look, we just got to take the piss out of ourselves. And we're like, what do you mean ourselves? It's me and David here. He's like, that's what I mean. So he goes, so we were like, let's just shoot something. That's the only way we're going to do this. We got to show them what we're talking about. So we got Ed O'Neill to buy in on that scene at the, where
cool.
David's going to ask him for a loan and all of that, and I show up and whatever, and I stole $15 from his wallet back in the days when he was doing Married with Children and all that. So we shot this this short 5-minute little segment that we used as a pitch reel. And even though we went to like every network in town, they were like, "This is so hilarious. We don't want it." And so finally, Sony TV bought it for Crackle when they bought Crackle, and they put it on as a web series. And they gave us a really great budget, and we did 10 or 12 episodes. I can't remember how many right offhand, but the episodes were just outrageous. They ranged about 10 minutes each, but then they pulled them. About a year or so after they aired them, they pulled them completely down from the net.
Really?
Which was very strange.
Well, that's what comedy. I did a series for Comedy Central, and they had it up on their website for like 4 months, and then they yanked it from the internet, and I was so bummed.
Yeah.
And they had spent like
it's because they sold off part of their stuff to Atom Films or something, or they bought Atom Films and then they changed the way it was all done.
Yeah.
And then yours got wiped out along with a bunch of other web stuff. They just wiped it all out. They're like, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah, so then what I did is I hit this guy here, Matt Walker, the biggest nerd I know, and I was like, hey, can you help me find the show somewhere online? Is it hiding somewhere in the corners of the internet?
Right.
And he found it and then ripped it from the web,
right.
And then I put it up on YouTube.
And then they took it down?
No, they
never. They don't care.
Because we found it. Somebody had posted Starving. It's happened a couple of times that it's popped back up, all the episodes, and it gets yanked down almost immediately, which is a tragedy. But see, it was Sony Television's first foray into web series stuff.
Sure.
And I think that our deal for the ad revs. We had a really, really strong deal for sharing the ad revenue.
Oh, yeah.
That'll do it.
I think that was really what it was, was the final nail in the coffin. But that said, those episodes were so outrageous and so dare I say scandalous at times that like if it was still on today, I don't think that David and I would have a snowball's chance in hell of ever working again in the film business.
Wow.
Because of how offensive the show was on so many levels, not just to us. We put ourselves out there most, but on every level. Sam Cass, who was one of the writer producers from Seinfeld, was on our writing producing team.
Oh my God.
And
amazing.
So Sam was like he was like, look, I'm Jewish. I can say anything about anybody. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, well then that one's on you, because we had a hard time writing the show because we were like, we'd come up with stuff that was so risky. You know, we'd all crack up and we'd be like, no, we can't put it in there. And then finally we had to come up with a rule that out of the 4 writers, myself, David, Todd, and Sam, if it got 3 out of 4 laughs, it stayed in the script no matter what.
Oh my God.
So finally we put it all, you know, we got all the scripts done and we delivered the scripts to Sony and they're like, okay, yeah, do it. And we're like, oh, they didn't read these.
Oh my God.
Like, they gave us 0 notes. So when we started delivering episodes, because we did block shooting on every single episode. So we did everything that would take place at David's house, all 12 episodes. We'd shoot all of that stuff. So we couldn't start editing the episodes together until we finished, you know, the whole shooting everything.
Right, of course.
Then we started delivering episodes, and they were like, "What is this?" They were like, "It's in the script." They were like,
"Yeah."
And apparently
you approved it.
Well, apparently a couple of our episodes literally sent some of the executives over there into like fits of rage, like literally fits of rage.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
Yeah, like throwing stuff off their desk and stuff, you know, and.
Wow.
Yeah, it was outrageous. It was outrageous.
We should try. You know, we should try to do.
We had, you know, Gilbert Gottfried was in it. Ed Asner was in it. We had some amazing, like the Gilbert Gottfried episode was. I mean, it's so horrible, but he had a special needs son who was like really heavy set, and he hires David because David owes him some money. So he's like, look, you'll watch my son while I go to this, you know, party with my wife. And while David's watching his son, he ends up drowning. And so,
my God.
So I show up and I'm trying to like help save him or whatever, you know, and so when Gilbert shows up at the end from his party, he shows up and we've killed his child. And so, I mean,
where is my son?
Yeah, exactly.
Where is my
and
son?
He's like, you saved me a lot of money though, and like horrible stuff like that.
My God,
and that's actually one of the more, you know, like easy to stomach episodes.
You know what we should try to do? I've tried to do this a couple times, which but I think it would be worth it. I've always wanted to do a little film festival of pilots that didn't like pilots or like lost television series shows.
That'd be great. Oh, that'd be so cool.
Because there's 2. There's an animated series that stars Samuel L. Jackson as a cop that is also a ghost, I think, and it was like for Adult Swim, never went to air, and my friend made it, and we have it somewhere. And then LMFAO, the band, LMFAO, they dropped almost $1 million making a pilot of where they were the stars of their own Curb Your Enthusiasm television show,
right? Like
where it's shot like Curb, but with those guys, and it is unbelievably funny.
Wow.
And so fucked up and so weird. And their music just intercut throughout it, which is so stupid. Like instead of like bum ba-dum ba-da bum ba, right. You know, it's like they're like techno like music every couple of minutes.
That's so bizarre.
It'd be fun to take a couple of these and put them up at, you know, the Chinese or something.
Oh, that would be a blast, actually.
Have a big fun night. That'd be a blast.
Yeah, so we did. I mean, you know, before that, David and I had done a number of films together, like, you know, those stoner comedies. We did one called High Hopes and one called Killer Bud. And
of course.
Those were good little indie films. And then we just recently did for a company called Gas Money Pictures. We did a pilot and shot some short episodes of a new animated series called Hollywood, but spelled WOULD. And it's about Hollywood and the industry, but all the characters are fruits, nuts, and vegetables. And so David and I are 2 peanuts who are writer producers trying to come up with our next great idea. And the executive at the studio is like this big heavy set orange, and there's every character.
Oh my God,
yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
So much fun.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. There's some clips of it that you can find out there, but it's still being shopped right now. There's some great networks that are, you know, looking at it, and even, you know, digital platforms and stuff. So hopefully that'll go.
I love it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. So
from its humble beginnings in Minnesota to a worldwide brand that has taken the vape industry by storm, Jungle Nation presents The Glory Days.
Whoa! What was that?
I'm sorry?
No!
This is the Glory Days. This needs to be exciting. The Glory Days. This is not your grandparents' e-liquid company. We take the flavors you love and flip them on their flavor faces. Kiwi, lemon, lime, melon, blackberry. Are you freaking kidding me? Sound the alarm. It's a new flavor alert. Peach, orange, mango. Game over. These are some of the most well-rounded, clean e-liquid flavors on the market. Following strict FDA guidelines and recommendations, Jungle Nations has taken the best of 42 fully registered flavors and bringing them to a local vape shop near you.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Must be legal age to purchase or use.
Let these days be the glory days of tomorrow. Go to junglenation.com. That's JNGLNation.com.
You have worked nonstop. Like what your IMDb is like. There's so many fun, crazy fucking movies that you've done, and like a ton of television. Stargate SG-1, you did 26 episodes. 28 episodes.
So how long had it been running when you joined that show?
I came on season 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that show like for you? Was it a fun show?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, I love that genre anyway. The sci-fi genre has always been a favorite of mine, and that show is so well produced. The production design on it is so incredible. Everything about that show is top of the line, and getting to go on those adventures with the cast there was just it was fantastic. I had a really great time. Vancouver's an awesome city too. Really love working up there, so can't complain about that either.
Where did you stay when you were in Vancouver?
Well, I was at a couple of different places during that time period. I think I was at the
They put you in the Sutton place?
Oh, the Slutton?
The Slutton place, you too? We just had Ashley Green on the show from Twilight, and her and I both stayed at the Sutton place. The Slutton place.
Yeah, yes. So I was there at first for the first episode that I did, and then they moved me over to a different place down Robson, and then eventually I had to get my own apartment there. So I had my own apartment for a while, which was literally completely empty except for an air mattress and a CD player, basically, and an electric clock, and that was it. I mean, the rest of the place was completely empty. So because I found this incredible apartment down in like not Gastown, but sort of a little off from Gastown in one of the new buildings, and it was the 47th and 48th floor. 2 stories of the top floor of one of these downtown high rises, and it was 5,200 square foot apartment with floor to ceiling windows and wraparound balconies at 48 stories high, and all this for like $1,300 a month, but there was no furniture in it. I was like, $1,300 a month, I'll take it.
Yeah,
It had like 5 bedrooms and like 6 bathrooms and all this ridiculousness. And I was just like, I had
an air mattress in the corner.
I had a pair of rollerblades. I used to rollerblade around the place. It was that big.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Now, you were also talking about sci-fi. You were involved in a project that's a prominent fan film, Star Trek Renegades.
Yes.
And we actually interviewed Walter Koenig and talked to him about that a little bit a couple years ago. And we've met Tim Russ, who's in that, of course.
Sure.
And they play pretty much their same characters, just in a different name in this show. Now, how did you become involved with that? Were you like a Star Trek fan? Are you a Trekkie?
No, I think I really got involved with it from going to the different conventions and everything, and meeting the guys that were putting that show together and all of that, and just through just general conversations. And they're like, oh well, we're trying to package this, and they were originally trying to just shop it as a series, but the Star Trek film franchise was doing so well. People were like, oh, we don't want to dilute it and this and that. And plus there was some weird, I don't know all the details because I'm not behind the scenes on it, but there was some weird thing about rights and this and that.
There was a big change. Star Trek used to have a hands-off policy where they were like, make whatever you want, we don't really care.
Right.
And then they came in around the time the movies came back, and then CBS was like, we're going to reassert our TV rights because we're going to make a new series. So about 4 or 5 years ago, they started clamping down and saying, no, you can't do this stuff, and you can't use anybody that's been in Star Trek, and you can't use any character names, and you can't use ship design. Like, they came in and basically said, you can't make these things anymore.
Right.
Which...
So that's, I mean, it just came about because of the
deal,
convention, the convention world and all of that. And it was cool to do. I mean, it was really that, because I had gotten in this, we won't get into details on it because it's too much, but I got in this horrible boat wreck filming down in Belize and my femur was broken into 7 pieces.
Wow.
And I had to go through, I had to go through 5 surgeries and all kinds of craziness. And so was basically, bedridden for a long time, pretty much. But
God, dude.
Long story short, it was the
were
Star
you
Trek was one of the
by
first things that I had done. When I wasn't even really able to walk at that time hardly. So it was like getting up, like in the first episode that I did, it's like I really just kind of stand up and move towards camera a little bit because I was still walking on a cane at that point. And
now did that happen because were you attacked by the Belizean drug lord's family of the kid that you were in high school with, and then you outed him on the podcast, and he's like,
well done.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Belize is a total narco state. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They were like, we're in Belize City, and the hotel managers, stuff like that, they're like, look, if you do want to go out or whatever, it's okay to go into town in the daytime, but just stay on the main street and all of this stuff. And if you want to go and have drinks at nighttime, just go to one of the hotel bars because you'll probably get kidnapped and held for ransom.
Holy crap!
Yeah, totally.
Oh my God. Well, I'm happy that you made it back and that you're okay. You're in one piece.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, thank God for
that. But I do have 60 grand worth of titanium in my right leg now.
Wow.
So you can't go through metal detectors?
Running from hip to knee. No, titanium doesn't set off metal detectors. So if you did want to sneak anything through, like a gun or some type of sword or something,
a gun made of titanium.
Yes.
This sounds... that is the next movie that we should make.
Titanium
steel gun.
Because like that, or what was that Clint Eastwood movie, In the Line of Fire? Where John Malkovich made the gun out of like resin or whatever.
Oh, right.
Here's the thing. I have always been a fan of these of movies that are ridiculous, like where the title of the movie is ridiculous.
Right.
I've always been a fan of these movies. I've always wanted to be in one of these movies.
Oh, like a Sand Sharks or something.
Yeah.
Like that?
So I'm gonna list off a couple of names of some movies that you've done. That you've been
it's
in,
hilarious.
That they're movies I would love to be in, and I would like to know what they're like to film these movies, and then also if they're all the same people or if it's different people. So I'm just going to list off some names. You ready? Here we go. Drone Wars is a movie that you did, filled with smoke and fire. The sky is littered with ships hovering above miles in every direction. These ships reap the earth of all of its resources. Drone Wars. That's one.
It should have been rape instead of reap.
Yeah,
they rape the earth.
They rape the earth. There was Rise of the Dinosaurs. This was a group of soldiers attempting to rescue a hostage from a terrorist crashed land in unfamiliar jungles. It's Rise of the Dinosaurs. Okay, so there's that one.
I only ended up in that one because they were 15 minutes short on the cut, and so they had to write a subplot. And I was friends with the producers and stuff because I had done some other films with them as a producer and actor, and so I came in and did like the subplot on that. That's the only one out of all the ones I've done that I really would have rather not been in.
All right, here's another one. This may be my favorite. A rocket carrying nano robots crash lands short. This could be the plot.
Was this Raging Sharks?
Event. No, this could. I'm gonna say it. You tell me if you can figure it out. Ready? A rocket carrying nano robots crash lands shortly after takeoff into a zoo. The bots are released and find their way to a massive crocodile.
Robo-Croc.
I would do anything to be in Robo-Croc. That sounds like so much fun. And then, of course, this is the one we were just talking about. The residents of a small town team. Oh, no, sorry. The residents of a small town team up to kill a group of evolved sharks that can swim in the sand.
No, they were actually prehistoric. They weren't evolved. They were ancient prehistoric sharks that swim in the sand.
I love this kind of stuff so much. Wait, one last one, because this one, I know these guys.
Yeah.
Plagued by uninsured patients, greedy insurance companies, and heartless healthcare mongers,
RoboDoc.
RoboDoc. It was a
National
doctor
Lampoon.
that's a robot.
Actually, it was unfortunate because that was right when they were going out of business that we finished our film, and so they just threw it out there because it's actually a
National Lampoon.
It's well done and it's funny, and we had a really good cast on that. Yeah,
you had
again, me and David
DeLuise, Michael Winslow, all the people.
And me and Faustino again were in that.
Faustino, of course.
And it's actually a very funny. It's actually a very funny film. If anybody can find it, it's well worth checking out.
So what's when you work on movies like this? Like, are they all the same? Is it the same company that's making these different films?
Well, I was working with some guys. They've now blown up so big. The company called The Cartel, and they've just become like huge.
Yes,
now.
I know exactly who they are.
So when they were still in kind of like a one-room office, I started doing these sci-fi movies with them, working as an actor and producer on them and stuff, and then also American World Pictures, I did a couple with them, and so they a lot of times they were with the same company, and then over in Bulgaria I did a bunch with UFO Productions over there.
Yeah, Bulgaria.
Yeah. SS Doom Trooper was another one that should have been on the list where the Nazis create a super soldier. That me and my buddies have to go and kill back in the 1940s or something, and
fun.
They
make
a lot of them
fun
fun
movies in Bulgaria.
Yeah, so I've worked over there like 6 times. I did with Yancey Butler. We did Lake Placid versus Anaconda over there. Just a couple years back, and that's a classic. A gigantic anaconda fighting a gigantic crocodile.
I've watched those movies. They're very, very fun to watch. The movie that I'm going to watch the premiere of that you're
Rotten
starring
Tail,
in, Rotten Tail. Tell me about this movie because it's you and Dominique Swain.
Can I guess?
Yes,
please.
Is
it about Fievel and now he's old and he's dead and he's rotting?
Fievel's a mouse.
But he was the star of American Tail, so that's what I'm saying.
No,
Rotten Tail.
Rotten Tail's a half bunny, half man.
Oh, half bunny, half man.
Half bunny, half man.
He's half bunny, half man. Oh, Vincent DePaul is in it.
Do you play a half...
William McNamara.
Tank Jones. I know Tank Jones.
Do you play a human rabbit hybrid?
I become a half man, half rabbit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's based on a graphic novel that came out in the late '90s that was published by Source Point Press, and it's just this crazy, story about a scientist at a secret lab, secret government lab, who is working on a serum to help, to help infertility. And another doctor at the lab is working on mutating animals for the military to go and fight for the military, and there's a
mix-up.
And so I end up getting bitten, by one of the mutated rabbits while I have a vial of the serum in my hand, and I get and it mixes with me, and sort of like how they did in The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, I slowly morph into this half man, half rabbit.
Awesome.
Oh,
and
my God.
Yeah. And so my nemesis from high school who killed my pet bunny is now an evil evangelical preacher who wants to go back to our hometown of Easter Falls and tear down the girl I was in love with, tear down her family's church to build his new gigantic, church. But unbeknownst to everybody, underneath that is like a huge deposit of gold down in the land because it's out in the desert in the mountain regions.
Of course.
So in tearing down the church, he wants to dig up the gold and become rich. Sure. And so I have to go back to my hometown of Easter Falls to save the town from the evil evangelical preacher.
Question for you about this:
do you transform into the rabbit, or are you?
Yes,
always
I transform.
Yeah.
No, I transform into. Well, I mean, I'm still half man, half rabbit. Basically, I don't go full bunny.
But like you're going back to your hometown. Like, do you get on an airplane and you've got ears?
No, I take
like,
my scooter. I'm driving my scooter there, and I run out of gas halfway there in the middle of the desert, and have to steal a van from some stoners to make the rest of the trip to Easter Falls. And then the insanity ensues.
That sounds awesome.
So yeah, Easter Falls,
so
and it takes place on Easter weekend. In the comic book, it was Easter weekend that the whole thing took place, and in the movie, it's Easter weekend that the whole thing takes place, and it's coming out Easter 2019.
Yeah.
So this is a whole Easter theme here.
Should I be
make
high
Easter
when
bloody
I see
again?
This movie?
Yeah.
Yes, you should be very, 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 very high.
Okay.
So we made it. We made the film for less than $300,000. And shot it in 16 days out in Phoenix. The director, Brian Skiba, nobody could have done this film except this guy. I mean, what he was able to capture in terms of getting all the shots that were needed. Our cinematographer, Patrice, a French cinematographer, just incredible at lighting, really, really deep, dramatic lighting, great stuff. It was almost an impossible shoot to get done in that amount of time with how big this and the scope the script was. Plus, we had to get the special effects makeup right, and so literally a third of the budget was in the special effects makeup. So really the principal photography was done for like $150,000 or so.
Holy
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like
wow.
So how long were you in makeup? Like as it went along, you got more and more.
It was about an hour, and at first it used to take about 2 hours or so, but then once we got used to it, it was about an hour and 45 minutes to get the makeup on, and about an hour and 15 to get it off.
Now, are you
every day.
the only half man, half rabbit in the movie, or are there others?
Yes, but in the end, I don't want to give everything away.
No.
There's a surprise.
Don't ruin it.
Yeah, but
I can't wait to see this.
So for being like a grindhouse horror comedy, and with a throwback to kind of that 80s horror genre,
sure.
It's pretty incredible what was able to be pulled off for the budget constraints and the time constraints and everything else. But I think that what we have, it's got some really, really great humor all the way through, and I think that for the genre, I think it's going to do really well. And what our hopes are is it does well enough to be able to give us the opportunity to do Rotten Tail 2 at a real budget, and really show people what we can come with. I was a producer on that as well, which was a great great experience for me too.
Fantastic.
But it was definitely a tough shoot, but well worth it. And I think that Rotten Tail will hit the market very strongly. And all there is at that budget, is room to make profit.
Absolutely, totally. These are your Facebook questions. Stephen Straw says, will we ever see a reunion show of Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and would you consider doing one?
Well, Stephen, or should I say Mr. Straw, a reunion show of Parker Lewis has been discussed, actually. Trying to do a reboot of it has been discussed, but as of yet, we have not been able to get the right person to sign off on it, whose name I will not mention, although I do love him. And it is not happening as of yet, but it would be hilarious. I actually thought that what would be funny is that if we did a reboot of it, it's Parker Lewis can't win, and now he's older, and everything he ever tries to do fails, and Miss Musso is now the mayor of the town, and she gets in the way of all of his new business ventures, and he sleeps on Kubiak's couch. And everybody else is super successful.
I love
Parker.
I love it. All right, Christy Elisa. Her question was, she said, I loved that show. Synchronized swatches. Did they keep the watches? Did you guys keep the watches?
Well, it was synchronized swatches, actually.
Yes.
And but when we went to Swatch Watch to get approval for that, they're like, "Oh, it's fine. You can use the word swatch, but you can't use our watches." So all we have were these little cheap, crappy watches, that didn't have a label on them of the maker or anything, and we couldn't actually use swatches, which I thought was a huge mistake for Swatch Watch. But there was no point in keeping those things. They were very, very cheap.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great.
And they never were really actually synchronized properly.
David Rosenberg asked, is there anything that you took from the show that you have continued to hold on to all these years?
Well, David, the only thing that I took from the show, Parker Lewis, was the heartbreak of season 3. I've kept that with me ever since. But no, there was nothing that I actually kept. Although I mean, on some shows that I've done, I have kept some silly little props or different things like that over the years. Operation Dumbo Drop, I kept one of my Army shirts. From What's Alan Watching, I kept this little rubber finger puppet that I wore in the show. I think I kept some dog tags from Stargate SG-1. nothing too special.
Totally badass. That's great. Eric Marino asks, did the cast celebrate when Ferris Bueller's Show got canceled?
Well, Eric, when Ferris Bueller's Show got canceled, yes, there was a bit of celebration with the cast and crew and producers of Parker Lewis, because our nemesis was effectually dismissed from primetime television, and it was a huge. It was huge for the enthusiasm of making the show, as well as just a great feeling that we were doing something that was not only groundbreaking but was being well received by the public.
I love it. Matthew Moore asks a question that I'm not totally sure I understand, but he said, "How did you get a hold of the Sega Game Gear so far ahead of its North American release?"
I think I know that on Parker Lewis there was a lot of stuff that we actually created the internet and live streaming way before it actually really existed on Parker Lewis. We were doing all that stuff, in the upper reaches of the gymnasium where our secret lair was, far ahead of its time. So really what we had done is we created this kind of future past machine, and we would get stuff that had yet to be invented sent back to us so we could use it in the show. And then later on, it would be invented.
Yeah, that just to point out, at the time, Sega North America was actually pretty advanced, and they were paying attention to shows like this. And I'm sure that there was a deal with Sega to get it over here.
That seems like that makes sense. Okay,
as a Sega fanboy, had to jump in.
There we go. Yes, you really are a Sega fanboy. Aaron Grimmer asks, "Was the water in the hot tub limo hot for filming?"
No, the water was not hot, and I don't know if it's ever hot, and I don't think that any hot tub limo actually has hot water in it. I mean, let's just be real. I think that if there's anything foamy in it, it's probably from being a hot tub limo, and God knows what's gone on or who's been in it. So, no, it was not actually hot, and that is unfortunate. That happens quite a bit, actually. In fact, on a lot of movies and stuff, you have to go into the water and pretend that it feels great, but it's actually freezing cold, and this happens most often.
Aaron Grimmer also asked this question, which I think is hilarious. Did they get a bulk deal on the glass for Miss Musso's office door? These are deep cut questions.
No, these are some serious fans.
Yeah.
Well, the glass windows, I can't remember how many were actually broken in over all 3 seasons, especially the first 2 seasons. But the budget on those, because sugar glass is not cheap, and there was a couple of times where where it broke prematurely, and that was always a huge tragedy, because it was such a dig in the budget keeping up with those glass windows. As funny as that is, it was quite something. So it was not unheard of that they would get word from the studio to be like, "Is there any way you can break less windows?" They're like, "Ooh, you're taking away one of our big gags." No, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to keep breaking these bitches.
JD asks, was there any animosity between that cast and the Saved by the Bell cast?
No, there was. I mean, Saved by the Bell, really, I don't think it started until we were at least deep into season 2. It certainly didn't start at the same time, and it was a Saturday morning show. In fact, I didn't even really hear of Saved by the Bell until after our show was canceled, so I don't really know exactly when Saved by the Bell started. But I definitely can see where they may have absorbed some elements from Parker Lewis.
Sure.
When they created that show. So I mean they had a much longer run than we did. That's all I know.
And our last question is from Robbie, and the last question was, what is the role that you're most proud of that you would love to even have a swipe at doing again for maybe a sequel or for something else?
Well, it's different, because some of the roles I'm most proud of, honestly, you couldn't really do a sequel to. There was this really small indie film that I did years ago called Foreign Correspondence that was a real slice of life film, and hardly anything happens in the movie. It's just and it was so much fun to make. as an actor, and that was really like one of my favorite films to make over all these some pretty incredible projects I've gotten to work on. I'd say in terms of shows, the one show that I would love to be able to go back onto and be a part of again would be Stargate SG-1 if they were to do, because I know that they have plans for a reboot and stuff like that, but I don't think that they're going to bring Jonas Quinn back, which is really unfortunate. But that would be an amazing show to be able to work on in the future for sure. It's such a great show. But as far as that goes, I mean, almost anything that I've done, you could probably do a reboot on. A quick funny story though, when we were talking about those B movies and stuff, the one Lake Placid versus Anaconda. I've done so many of these like films where you just end up with so much gore and crap on you by the end of the movie, and it's so unpleasant to work that way. And I'd worked with these producers so many times. I was like, how about if like every time there's like a big blood spray or anything like that happens, I'm like either behind somebody or I duck and everybody else gets hit. So by like the end of the movie, it's like you'll notice like I'm like hardly have anything on me and everybody else is all messed up. And it's like, if you really watch the movie, you'll see it's like I'll like duck, other people won't, or I'll be like just behind somebody, or I was like, 'cause I just can't. I mean, it's just
not again,
not again.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for doing the show.
Yeah, you bet.
Man.
You
this
bet,
was
brother.
really awesome. Tell people where they can find you on social media and stuff like that.
Yes, as far as social media goes, I'm really most active on Twitter and Instagram. And there goes Flo, my sister's dog. She's on it. She's guarding us. So it's the letter I and the letter M, and then the name Corin Nemec on both of those. So on Twitter, it's at I am Corin Nemec, and on Instagram, it's at I am Corin Nemec, and it's not it means instant message. Damn it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But it's I'm Corin Nemec, and then I have a Facebook, but I almost never check it.
Fantastic.
But those are the two best places to find me.
Matt, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find links to everything at funnymatt.com, or if you're annoyed by me, let me know at mattwalkersucks.com. And also, if you like things that are horrible, please listen to my other podcast with Stephen Glickman called Juror Number 8, where I talked to him about the murder trial that I was a juror on of a man who murdered and dismembered his mother.
Oh, my God. Corin, I had to do a podcast with him. But we've been friends. Me and Matt have been friends for 14, 15 years, something like this.
Gotcha.
And he made me do a podcast with him where he just told me the most horrifying story ever. If you like that type of stuff, like true crime podcast, this is a great one to listen to. If you're
I did play Ted Bundy and
my God,
yeah, and Richard Speck. Which who was played both of those guys.
Oh, so then you might really enjoy it.
Yeah. Go to juror8.com and you can listen.
Yeah. Hey, I have to say this.
We didn't even get to talk about The Stand.
God.
We'll have to do this again another time.
Yeah, we got to do this again.
Yeah,
there's too much.
Talk about a cast. My God.
Oh my God. We got to say this, which is super cool. We are working with Zoom. Mm-hmm. They provide the. Our sound equipment for the show, and it makes it so that we can travel anywhere and go to people's homes and hang out and just rock it.
And this is our first interview with this set of equipment, which is great.
Yes, and it sounds really, really awesome. So I'm very, very excited to be working with them. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nighttime Show and leave us comments and share and tell your friends. You can always get me at Stephen Glickman, STPHEN on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And I love you, Corin. Thank you so much for making this dream come true.
Oh yes, I have a YouTube really cool. channel, Corin Nemec TV, but it's like there's not a whole lot on there. It's just like, but I have some reels and stuff on there. But I do have because I live in Texas, so I always have to do these auditions on my computer and stuff. And I've never gotten any of the jobs, so I was like, you know what? Fuck it.
So just posted on.
So there's like a crap ton of auditions of jobs I never got on there, which is hilarious.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
If you ever want to, we can always try to pull together a Parker Lewis cast reunion on the live show. If you ever want to try to do that.
I'm sure that we could get.
Try to get Abraham or
I'm sure that we could get a decent amount. I'm sure Tim would show up as well. Which
people would go crazy.
That'd be great.
That'd be a blast.
We can probably work that out.
All right, thanks, buddy.
All right, you bet.
Yeah, this was great.
You bet.
Thank you.
Oh!